Back to TransGuyReacts. My name is Nik. I make videos about women's basketball, collegiate or professional, and today I'm talking about the WNBA games for Tuesday, September 17th. There were 5 games on today, and I watched like 2 of them. I watched like 4 of them, but not really intensely. Only watched 2 of them pretty intensely. But before I get into that, let's talk about the transactions for today. Dearica Hamby signed a contract amendment for some time off. I don't understand what it means when the time off bonus with the Los Angeles Sparks. Las Vegas Aces released Queen Egbo, but then they re-signed her for the rest of the season contract with the Aces, so she'll be able to play in the playoffs. Brittany Sykes, Carly Samuelson, and Stephanie Dolson all signed a contract amendment for time off bonus with the Washington Mystics. And then Azrae Stevens signed a contract amendment for time off bonus with the Los Angeles Sparks. In terms of the games, the first game was the Minnesota Lynx versus the Connecticut Sun, and the Lynx were firmly in control of most of that game until the last quarter. I peeked in a little bit. I saw that the Sun did make a run, but ultimately the Lynx were able to hold them back and win that game. It was 78-76, so it was pretty close actually. The Sun, DeWanna Bonner had 9 points. Lissa Thomas had 18 points, 10 assists, and 8 rebounds. She almost had a triple double. Brianna Jones had 10 points, 8 rebounds. Dejanay Carrington had 15 points, Tyisha Harris had 9, and Marina Mabrey had 13. But for the Minnesota Lynx, Bridget Carlton had 13, Nafisa Collier had 25 points, Alana Smith had 9, Kayla McBride had 14, Courtney Williams had 8 but 12 assists, and Maisha Hines-Allen had 9. So it was a really close game. A lot of people were scoring for both teams. It came down to the very end, and Lynx won by 4 points. The next game was the New York Liberty versus the the Washington Mystics. Excuse me. It was a must-win for the Mystics to stay in contention for the playoffs. But for the say the Liberty. I think Dorka Uhas was out, or was that for the Lynx game? But I put that in the wrong category. But yeah, and then for the Mystics, Aaliyah Edwards and Shakira Austin were out for that game. So Shakira Austin's out for the rest of the season, but Aaliyah Edwards was out for that game in particular. It was an interesting game as the Liberty, had some really dominant quarters, but that last quarter was kind of like shit for them. But they already had a pretty big lead, and so they were able to maintain the lead and win the game, even though they didn't play really well in the fourth quarter. They ended up winning 87-71. The Mystics, only one player was in double digits, and that was Ariel Atkins with 22 points. Everybody else, it was like Brittany Sykes, Emily Inksler, Julie Van Loo, Carly Samuelson, Sika Kone. They all had like 7 or 8 points, so no one else got into double figures, and that hurt the Mystics. For the New York Liberty, Benigel Hamilton had 11 points. Brianna Stewart had 15 points, 10 rebounds for a double-double. John Cole Jones had 11 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. She was in foul trouble, though. Leona Fibich had 13 points. Niara Sabli had 12 points. Really great game for Niara. A lot more offensive power from New York. The next game was the Chicago Sky versus Atlanta Dream, and I did watch that game somewhat closely. It was a must-win for either team because they're both in playoff contention. But for the Sky, they were just missing so much firepower. Camila Cardoso, Kennedy Carter, Diamond DeShields, Angel Reese, Elizabeth Williams, they're all out, obviously. Camila for a shoulder injury. Kennedy, I don't know why she's out. And Diamond for an ankle injury. Angel's out with her wrist surgery for the rest of the season. And Elizabeth's out. So, the Dream were pretty much in control most of the game, actually, until the fourth quarter. But Tina Charles did Tina Charles things and was able to prevail. And unfortunately, Michaela Nwede fouled out of this game. She tried her hardest to make an impact, but she ended up fouling out. But even though the Sky did lose this game, they're still in contention because the Mystics lost their last game. So still in a running for it, but the Dream did ultimately win by a considerable margin, 86 points to 70. So the Sky, Isabel Harrison had 13 points, 11 rebounds for a double-double. Rachel Banham had 22 points, a little bit of foul trouble herself. Lindsay Allen had 16 points, and Michaela Onyenwere and Brianna Turner had 8 points. But for the Atlanta Dream, Ryan Howard had 15 points, Tina Charles had 16 points, 14 rebounds for a double-double. Alicia Gray had 15 points, Jordan Canada had 18 points, and then a whole bunch of people had 4 points. So just a lot more firepower from the Dream, and got the ultimate win. And it was a sold-out crowd, so good for them. The next game was the Las Vegas Aces versus Seattle Storm. Jewel Lloyd was out for a knee injury, and Ezzy McGilvor was out for a concussion. So they didn't have their two big stars on the floor. And the Aces came out swinging. They were kicking ass in that first quarter. The Storm were able to cut the lead in the second quarter, and actually was really tight in the third quarter. But in the fourth quarter, Aces put the hammer down, and they won that game pretty easily, honestly. The ending score was 85-72. And the Storm, Gabby Williams had 14 points, an amazing outing for her. Nika Wumake had 19 points. Skylar Diggins-Smith had 17 points and 9 assists. And then a couple people, Mercedes Russell, Joyner Holmes, had 8 points. But for the Aces, Jackie Young had 16 points. Asia Wilson had 21 points. Kelsey Plum had 21 points. Chelsea Gray had 13 points. Tiffany Hayes had 10 points. It was just a lot more firepower overall from the Aces. And then the last game of the evening was the Phoenix Mercury versus the Los Angeles Sparks. I did not watch this game because I had issues getting CBS Sports on my computer because I'm in another country and things get blocked. So, but for the Sparks, Leisha Clarendon's out, Ari McDonald's out, Odyssey Sims is out, Lexi Brown's out, Cameron Brink is out. So they had a lot of people who aren't there. And then for the Mercury, Beck Allen is out, Charisma Osborne's out, and Kalia Copper is out. But through all that, the Mercury did win this game by a very small margin. It was 85-81. And for the Sparks, Dearica Hamby had 21 points. Lee Yuru had 19 points, 12 rebounds for a double-double. That's crazy. Look at Lee. She was balling. And then Kia Nurse had 10 points. Zaya Cook had 9 points. And Rikia Jackson had 8 points. So it was a really good outing for the Sparks. It just wasn't enough. The Mercury beat them out by 4 points. And Sophie Cunningham had 14 points. Brittany Griner had 14 points. Diana Taurasi had 13 points. She's a little bit of... 14 points, yeah. And then Natasha Cloud had 13 points and 12 assists for a double-double. Makia Herbert-Harringen had 10 points. Monique Billings had 9 points, and Natasha Mack had 9 points. It's just a really nice, even amount of points from everybody contributing for the Mercury. So, yeah, those were the roundup for today. There'll be one more game on Thursday. All the teams are playing, and that is the last game of the regular season to determine who is getting that 8th spot. So it's big games on Thursday. All right. If you enjoy this kind of content, please like, share, subscribe. Do all the things you do on social media, follow, whatever. And I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.